Hello everyone, it's Saoirse, and today we're going to talk about One Day by David Nicholls. So I put together my best Emma Morley, and I've got my University of Edinburgh sweatshirt. That's actually where I went to school, and we're going to talk about that. And I can't keep these glasses on because they're my old glasses, and I got LASIK 5 years ago, so I can't really see with these anymore. But there we are. Let's start by saying I saw the movie version of this book in 2011. This was published in 2009. 2011, cut to me, alone in a movie theater. I like to take myself to the movies. And I saw this movie, and I don't remember much about it other than that I was very sad. There are going to be spoilers in this video, so many spoilers, lots of them. Don't watch this if you don't want to know what happens, because we gotta talk about that. So I saw the movie, then when the miniseries came out this year, I gaslit myself into believing that this must be a different story. It can't be the same as the movie, because I didn't want to believe that I already knew what the ending was. Because I did remember distinctly when somebody dies tragically and really unexpectedly in a movie. I remember it, so I was like, this show can't be that. It's not going to be that. So it's not like I've already ruined it for myself. I was wrong, clearly. It was just another adaptation. And I didn't read the book before watching it because I guess subconsciously I was like, I do know this is the same story and I've already ruined it by seeing the movie, so why read the book? And also I think I don't really enjoy reading romance. I probably wouldn't like the book. I was wrong. I really loved the book. And I wouldn't really call this just romance. It actually had way more depth to it than I expected, and I got that from, the first episode of the show. I was totally hooked, and partially that's because of Edinburgh and seeing the city where I went to university. They actually filmed there, and it was so, oh my god, the scene with them in Arthur's Seat. I could go on and on. Let's read the back real quick. It's 1988, and Dexter Mayhew and Emma Morley have only just met, but after only one day together, they cannot stop thinking about one another. Over 20 years, snapshots of that relationship are revealed on the same day, July 15th of each year. Dex and Em face squabbles and fights, hopes and missed opportunities, laughter and tears, and as the true meaning of this one crucial day is revealed, they must come to grips with the nature of love and life itself. So, just a quick word about the show. The people that they chose to play Emma and Dexter were incredible. Can we talk about how incredible they were? The woman that played Emma, I've almost never seen such a natural actor. I was never questioning her. I'm always overthinking during movies and shows. I'm like, this is an acting choice they're making. I was totally in it with her. She just felt real and authentic the whole time. I wasn't ever going, what acting choice are you making? And Dexter, oh my god, that scene where his dad makes him leave because he showed up drunk, or he gets drunk at the house while his mom is sick, and he leaves him at the train station and he calls Emma, and he is just having a breakdown on this payphone. That is one of the best delivered monologues that I've ever seen, and that's saying a lot. I mean, it was heartbreaking. So well done to both of them. And let's get into it. So yeah, this was extremely sentimental for me because of the opening and, the fact that they met in Scotland. They met at my university, and also I've been all over the UK and spent a lot of time in London, so a lot of the things that they talk about in here just, they make me miss being there. Okay, let us get into some thoughts about this. So right off the bat, I can't help identifying with Emma, hopeless dating life, and desire to be a writer. I really, anytime there's a woman writing in a book, that's the main character, I'm like, me, that's me, I identify with that. So love her so much, and I've heard that David Nicholls says that she's his favorite character that he's ever written. I hope that's true. So when looking at this, I had so many thoughts during it. Is this just a classic story of a man who can't take care of himself, or make decisions, or see the good thing that is right in front of him until it's almost too late? Is this just another one of those, like, where a man takes a woman for granted and his life spirals into horror because of it? Were Emma and Dexter right for each other? No, I don't think so. I don't think they were. Did I still want them to get together? Yes, I would argue that most of us still wanted them to get together. And what does that say about us? These are just questions I thought of. What the heck does that say about us, that we're rooting for people even when we know fundamentally these people don't make any sense together, and would probably be happier with people more like them? But then, I don't know, for Dexter, would he be happy with anybody? Because then we have the issue of the scarcity mindset that a lot of people, especially men, seem to have, which is that they are so afraid of committing to one woman because what if they let go the thousands of other women that might be even better? And that is 100% what Dexter does to Emma throughout this book. We'll get into a few quotes about that. So, is this the story of settling, just getting to a certain age and settling? Or is it a story of waiting for the right time with somebody? Now, I have multiple thoughts about this because there are billions of people in the world, so if somebody isn't really floating your boat or treating you right, chances are there is someone else out there that will be good to you and that you will love even more and you'll connect with even more. And yet we're so fixated on this, like, these two people, Emma and Dexter, they must get together. And I don't know. I don't have a conclusion about that. I'm a hopeless romantic, so, like, I want to believe there is such a thing as a soulmate, and if we just figure out the right timing with somebody, it'll work. But then part of me is also like, if it's not the right person, it will never work with them, and you can't ever change them or make something happen that was never going to. Like, that helps me get over things when I get rejected and I start spiraling, like, oh, if I had done this, and this differently. It's like, no. If they were the right person, it simply would have worked. And it didn't, so they're not. So what are your thoughts about that with them? And then, what does Emma's death signify? That you should seize the day and be with who you love before it's too late? Or is it that she was grossly misused by this person whom she loved and trusted, and ever since she met him, she was sort of spiraling toward her death? You can look at it so many different ways. What do you think that it signifies in this book? Let's get into 1 million quotes. I'm going to lose my voice. There are so many. I've got my little University of Edinburgh keep cup. And by the way, I did get a master's degree in creative writing there. So, yeah, Emma's degree wasn't in creative writing, but she did become a writer. So I'm like, we're the same. Okay. So let's start at the beginning here. Page 8. Nothing here was neutral. Everything displayed an allegiance or a point of view. The room was a manifesto, and with a sigh, Dexter recognized her as one of those girls who used bourgeois as a term of abuse. So this is Dexter in Emma's room for the first time, looking around, and it shows us that Emma has these really strong convictions, and Dexter just doesn't have any. He just wants to have a good time. She's got a personality. She's got things that she cares about. He just wants to look cool. Perfect quote for that right here. He wanted to live life to the extreme, but without any mess or complications. He wanted to live life in such a way that if a photograph were taken at random, it would be a cool photograph. Things should look right. Fun. There should be a lot of fun and no more sadness than absolutely necessary. So we're going to see a lot of him throughout his whole life, running away from his problems, which isn't healthy. So Emma's thinking about the fact that she's suddenly done with university and being thrust into adult life. She didn't feel like an adult. She was in no way prepared. It was as if a fire alarm had gone off in the middle of the night and she was standing on the street with her clothes bundled up in her arms. If she wasn't learning, what was she doing? How would she fill the days? She had no idea. Relatable, even the same university. I got back from Scotland, and this is 100% me still. And I finished in 2020. My God, we're coming up on 4 years since I finished my degree, and I'm still like, what am I doing if I'm not in school? Because I was in school for most of my life, like that. Being a student was really my identity. So I like that he gets into that there's, she's got these grand ideas about how she's going to change the world, but she's also really terrified that she doesn't know what to do with herself anymore. And Dexter is just like, I'm going to run from it, and I'm going to travel the world and never stop, and I won't think about anything, and I'll never have to grow up. So it's a lot of ways to approach graduation. Where am I? Oh. At her very, very lowest ebb, she had taken a course in circus skills until it transpired that she had none. Trapeze was not the solution. And I wrote, is she me? Because that was me last year, or the year before when I started aerial classes. I started with Lyra, and then I took trapeze all of last year. And for some people, it's the solution. It was for me for a little bit. I was just like, oh my God, are you serious? There's too many details that are relatable. So they write letters to each other initially after they meet. And it says, barely concealed longing, 2,000-word acts of love on airmail paper. Letters like compilation tapes were really vehicles for unexpressed emotions, and she was clearly putting far too much time and energy into them. In return, Dexter sent her postcards with insufficient postage. Amsterdam is mad. Barcelona insane. Dublin rocks. Sick as dog this morning. Venice completely flooded. Just classic. Emma is so expressive and talking about her feelings, and Dexter does not match her energy. He doesn't give her the same energy back. Why do we waste our time with these people who clearly are not on the same page as us about anything? It is some sort of, I don't know, something's wrong with my brain that I relate to her because I do that too. Like, how many boys have I written letters to? Beautiful, descriptive, long letters. And usually, like, while those letters were in transit, that's when they broke up with me. It was the weirdest thing. It's happened like 3 times. Wrote a letter, they never even got it or opened it, but while it was in the air to them, they broke up with me. Wild. I love letters. So Dexter really cares about how his life looks to other people, and Emma, she really wants to make a difference. Let's look at this. At this stage in his life, his main criterion for choosing a career was that it should sound good in a bar shouted into a girl's ear, and there was no denying that I'm a professional photographer was a fine sentence. Perfect example right there. He cares about the aesthetics, not about like what actually would make him happy or feel fulfilled. Because it's just getting other people's approval, I guess, that is fulfilling to him, he thinks. I really like this part in his letter to Emma. It's like uncharacteristically, sometimes my brain goes blank when I'm doing videos, which is a great time for it to happen. Not introspective. Observative? Is that a word? I'm not being stupid. Literally, he's observing something. He's really good at making this observation. I think you're scared of being happy, Emma. I think you think that the natural way of things is for your life to be grim and gray and dour and to hate your job, hate where you live, not to have success or money, or God forbid a boyfriend. And a quick dissertation here, that whole self-deprecating thing about being unattractive is getting pretty boring, I can tell you. In fact, I'll go further and say that I think you actually get a kick out of being disappointed and underachieving, because it's easier, isn't it? Failure and unhappiness is easier because you can make a joke out of it. Is this annoying you? I bet it is. Well, I've only just started. This got me so good. This whole clinging to misery thing and how some of us feel it's almost noble. And I wish I didn't think like this. But there are times when I snap out of it and realize maybe I am a little bit addicted to my identity being the failure, because it is easier to just go to look at all the times I've failed in my life and go, well, that's me, I guess. I just suck at everything. Because then you can chalk it up to luck and chance and just you're fundamentally a failure. Whereas if you fought against that and really strived for happiness, then you would have to try. You'd have to make an effort. And yeah, it's just easier to identify as a failure than to pick yourself up and do the extremely embarrassing thing of trying. Thought that was very cool that he pointed that out. Emma stopped writing, then looked away and stared at the ceiling, as if giving someone a chance to hide. She looked back at the page in the hope of being surprised by the brilliance of what was there. Love that little bit about what it's like to be a writer. Like, giving someone a chance to hide. Like, this amazing sentence or plot twist is just it's gonna get you. And, you have to really sneak up on it, or it sneaks up on you. I don't know, it's a lot of sneaking. Once more she shuddered as if peeking beneath a bandage and snapped the notebook shut. Good God, the elusive thing. She had reached a turning point. She no longer believed that a situation could be made better by writing a poem about it. Ow. I took that personally. Sometimes it really can make the situation better. Okay, there's this great speech in here that is included in the show. Dexter says to Emma, you know what I can't understand? You have all these people telling you all the time how great you are, smart and funny and talented and all that. I mean, endlessly. I've been telling you for years, so why don't you believe it? Why do you think people say that stuff, Em? Do you think it's a conspiracy, people secretly ganging up to be nice about you? Ooh. I wish that we knew the origin of her insecurity, because that is a big theme in this book, is that she's very, very insecure and not sure of herself. And I know where mine comes from. You know, when you're bullied a lot as a kid, or you have abandonment issues from your family and whatever you've been through, it sticks with you and it just doesn't go away. So no matter how many people tell you how great and talented and pretty you are, that never gets in. Like, it like tries to knock on the door, but you have all your insecurities like pressed up against the door saying, get away. So I wish we just knew a little bit more about her childhood and where that comes from. But I thought that was a great thing to point out. Like, why do I know so many talented, successful, beautiful, kind women who tear themselves down constantly? And it's heartbreaking. There is lots of bike foreshadowing in this book. She dated a bicycle repairman whose fingers smelt perpetually of WD-40. Her bicycle had never been in better shape. That's on page 73, and we all know what happens at the end with her bike. So, yeah, I started to notice, because I already knew what happened when I went into this, I started to notice all the times that the bike is mentioned. Alright, so Dexter is always mistreating Emma. Let's see an example of that. This is when are they in Greece, I think? And they have this rule, they're just gonna be platonic. And Dexter says, I'm not scared of her, his girlfriend. I'm just not, no. Sorry, this is Emma saying, I'm not scared of her. I'm just not going to do it so that we can say that we've done it. And I'm not going to do it if the first thing you say afterwards is, please don't tell anyone, or let's forget it ever happened. If you have to keep something secret, it's because you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. Yes, thank you, Emma. Why? What is with this? Oh, we can't tell anybody, and I don't want anybody to know. Then don't do it, dude. Don't do it. Don't pressure her into doing it if that's going to be the result. And we all know with him that would be the result because he doesn't think Emma fits into his shiny new life of being a TV presenter. So I thought that was great that she called him out. Another bit that made me feel like, ugh, about being a writer. She drinks pints of coffee and writes little observations and ideas for stories with her best fountain pen on the linen white pages of expensive notebooks. Sometimes when it's going badly, she wonders if what she believes to be a love of the written word is really just a fetish for stationery. The true writer, the born writer, will scribble words on scraps of litter, the back of a bus ticket on the wall of a cell. Emma is lost on anything less than 120 GSM. That just made me think, do I just love the aesthetic of writing? And sure, dark academia is very sexy, but yeah, that one hurt. Because I often tell myself that it's like a real writer will do this, a real writer will do that. Like they'll have to write or it will kill them. And I'm always like, well, I could die without ever writing again and I'd be fine. But I just say that to like put off writing, which that's kind of my trademark. I'm a writer who loves to procrastinate all the time and complain about it. And that's some of us. Some writers are just addicted to it and can never stop writing stuff down. And then there's people like me who will not write for like 5 months and then bang out something that they think is pretty cool. All right, what are we doing here? Oh, I think this is foreshadowing, personally. Dexter is under the influence and driving, and there's a blare of horn as he realizes that he is driving at 112 miles an hour in the exact center of 2 lanes. So can we look at this as foreshadowing of him leading to Emma's death, perhaps? Because it's this symbol of him as a bad driver, as a bad force, and a bad driver is what kills Emma. So you know, this night, if he hadn't gotten lucky and not killed any, he absolutely could have killed somebody when he was driving under the influence. And he would have taken away somebody else's loved one. The way that he was so angry about this driver taking away Emma. So, just food for thought there. It sounds like I really hate Dexter, and it's not that. It's just, even the author, you know, calls him out constantly for his bullshit, and we have to do that. Here's another bit of him running away. This is so sad when his mother is dying. He smiles tightly at her, but she is already lying on her side with her back to him, and he stepped out of the room, pulling the door loosely closed. One day quite soon, probably within the year, he will walk out of a room and never see her again. And this thought is so hard to conceive of that he shoves it away violently, concentrating instead on himself, his hangover, how tired he feels, how the pain throbs in his temples as he trots down the stairs. So, me, my pain, my problems. He's running away. He can't deal with his feelings. And there were a lot of things in this book that I clocked as just so typically British. And one of them is the restraint, the not sharing feelings. I definitely came up against this as an American living in the UK for a year, and especially with dating. They what is the expression? Hold their cards close to their chest. I don't know. I was always called out for being too forward and like just talking about my feelings too openly, and that really scares people away. And I think they're just so emotionally repressed in most cases, and that came through so much here. Even with Emma, there's so many instances where she should have said what was on her heart and she just didn't. And I think the moral of this book is like, life's too short for that crap. Don't hold back what you're feeling for any reason, like to look cool or anything like that. So Ian, oh, what an interesting character, Ian. Okay. Um, on the way to the pub, he had changed sides on the pavement so that she wouldn't get hit by a runaway bus, foreshadowing. A weirdly old-fashioned gesture that she'd never been subject to before. So Ian, he's safe. He is literally, symbolically here protecting her from what will eventually kill her. Safe, but is safe enough? Is safe love? No. So what's the message here? We all die anyway, so take risks. So marry Dexter instead of Ian, because you're not in love with Ian, and everything ends anyway, we're all going to die, so what is the point of doing something purely for safety? Does that make sense? Staying in the safe relationship, even knowing that that relationship, like everything else in this world, will meet its end. And is it worth it for like a little bit of extra life to be with somebody that you don't love? Interesting stuff. Okay, so Dexter's always taking Emma for granted, we know that. He was meant to be having dinner with Emma on Tuesday, but knows that he can always cancel Emma. She won't mind. There's this thing where men think the women they put on hold will somehow always be there, and that's just not true, and it is so like deeply evil to me that people do this to other people. Obviously it's not always men, but he does this to Emma over and over, and you know, eventually she is still there and available, and so that I don't like that kind of teaches us the lesson that you can take somebody for granted, and like in the end you'll still get married, but they'll die on a bike. So I guess, I don't know, is that his karma for always taking her for granted? Why should she have to pay the price for his karma? Oh, this depressed me. She wondered if she was doomed to be one of those people who spend their lives trying things. She had tried being in a band, writing plays and children's books. She had tried acting and getting a job in publishing. Perhaps crime fiction was just another failed project to place alongside trapeze, Buddhism, and Spanish. I say this all the time about myself. Jack of all trades, master of none. Love starting stuff, love trying everything. Want to try every single thing in the world, and I'll just never be an expert in anything. And in a way, that's fine. We do not have, it's a fallacy that we have to be an expert at one thing and like choose one thing to focus on to be our life. Our life isn't, our identity is not one thing that we do. Watch the movie Soul, the Disney movie, and you will get that, and I love the lesson in that movie. Our purpose is just life itself, and living, you know, live, laugh, love. I wish I hadn't said that. I already hate that I said that. But it is kind of true. So here's another bit where we can see that Dexter always thinks there's a better option. They're at the restaurant together where everything blows up and then they stop talking for years. For one callous moment, Dexter wished it were the cigarette girl, not Emma, who would be joining him for dinner. And then after, when they're out in the street fighting, Emma says, "You're drunk, you're always drunk or off your face or on something or other every time I see you. Do you realize I literally haven't seen you sober for, 3 years? I've forgotten what you're like sober. You're too busy boring on about yourself or your new pals or running to the loo every 10 minutes. I don't know if it's dysentery or too much coke, but either way it's fucking rude, and most of all it's boring. Even when you talk to me, you're always looking over my shoulder in case there's some better option." What is this about? I'm gonna write a poem about this. Why do people always think there is something better out there, even when they have something amazing? That's the thing, is I think that people have this, like, filter, and they can't see when something's good. Like, they literally can't, and I almost don't even know if it's their fault, because they're so blinded by this idea that everything, the next thing around the corner, is the best thing. And yeah, often, like with Ian, the thing right in front of you isn't the best thing, and it isn't right for you. Absolutely, you should never settle. But it is such a, it's like, it's great that this book takes place before online dating, like, you know, like the app kind of online dating, swiping, because that is so, it just boils us all down to a little photograph that we just, not for me, not for me. And it's so sick, it's so scary. We don't have time for that. Love that Emma stands up for herself here. Dexter says, I do not think you're dreary. Emma says, and neither do I. Neither do I. I think I'm fucking marvelous, if you only knew it. And I think you used to think so too. But if you don't, if you're going to just take it for granted, then that's fine. I'm just not prepared to be treated like this anymore. The amount of times in my life I wish I had been able to say that. So just, wouldn't it be great? Just stand up for yourself and realize you actually don't need this sorry excuse for a man in front of you. This guy who's not matching your energy and not treating you well at all. Why do we beg them to stay? Okay. Her life had been stuffed with anecdotes, an endless string of the bastards. Now she wants something to go right for once. She wants success, or at least the hope of it. I love this bit about anecdotes. Because disasters make good stories. Things going wrong makes such a good story. I've always loved to tell stories about things going terribly, terribly wrong. But when you get caught up in things being a good story, you lose track of the fact that, like, you're not trying to succeed anymore. You're just, like, trying to fail so that you can have some funny anecdote. Or you're not, like, trying to fail, but you're just not trying very hard to get better. Oh, I am gonna lose my voice. Here's a bit where, like, this speech is so familiar. She's trying to convince herself that she is perfectly happy, you know, at this wedding, finally talking to Dexter again, and, like, all of her friends have been getting married. She says, sympathy for the spinster. I'm perfectly content, thank you, and I refuse to be defined by my boyfriend, or lack of. She was starting to speak with real zeal now. Once you decide not to worry about that stuff anymore, dating and relationships and love and all that, it's like you're free to get on with real life. And I've got my work, and I love that. I've got, I reckon, 1 more year to really make a go of it. The money's tiny, but I'm free. I go to the movies in the afternoon. She paused momentarily. Swimming. I swim a lot. I swim and I swim and I swim mile after mile. God, I fucking hate swimming. Turn left, I think. Okay. So I love how, like, the truth comes out in the end there. She's really trying to cover up the fact that she's not quite happy with her life. And we always, we think, us single people, that we've got to be, like, such grand successes in every arena of life for it to be okay that we're single. Like, oh, you're still single and you're in your 30s, you must be so focused on your amazing career. Everything else has to be, like, show-stoppingly incredible to make up for the fact that, oh, you're still single. Like, some people don't want to date. Some people do, but, you know, it's just not happening, so they have to kind of make a go of other things. God, this book was just so relatable in so many ways. Oh, like this paragraph right here. What happened to her friends? They used to be funny and fun-loving, gregarious and interesting, but far too many evenings have been spent like this, with pasty, irritable, hollow-eyed couples in smelly rooms, expressing wonder that baby is getting bigger with time rather than smaller. She is tired of squealing in delight when she sees a baby crawl, as if this was a completely unexpected development, this crawling. What were they expecting? Flight? She is indifferent to the smell of a baby's head. She tried it once, and it smelt like the back of a watch strap. The back of a watch strap! That made me laugh so much. Yeah, and like when you're, especially like when you're a woman in your late 20s, early 30s, and you're not like obsessed with babies, people think there's something wrong with you, because this is a sexist world that tells us that women are just baby making machines. So when we think that babies smell like watch straps and we don't care about, everybody just keeps popping them out and we have to act excited and like we're so fascinated by the fact that they're crawling when that's really only interesting to the parents. People look at you a certain way, but they smell like watch straps. Anyway, I thought that was just hilarious. Oh, Arthur's seat. So it's in the series. They start out like the first episode has Arthur's seat, but in the book, he totally skips what happens in the morning after they spend the night together, and we get it here toward the end of the book. It is still possible to make out the two of them sitting on a mountainside, the peak of Arthur's Seat, the extinct volcano that looms over Edinburgh. And I mean, just any mention of, okay, so I lived like pretty much right behind Arthur's Seat. I lived next to Holyrood Park, and I could be at the park, like at the base of Arthur's Seat, like a 15-minute walk, and then it took, what did it take, like half an hour to climb up there? It's not difficult, and I did it a lot. And here's a photo of me on top of Arthur's Seat. And I went up there on days when it was gorgeous like that. I mean, Scotland was never warm, but sometimes there was a blue sky day. And then I had days up there where I was bundled up to the throat, getting rained on, and freezing, and there was no view at all. But wait. Okay, I want to show you one more to find it. Okay, here is me the last time that I was on Arthur's Seat. This was a year ago. So I went back for my graduation, which was heavily delayed due to COVID. So I had this beautiful moment of just walking all the streets that I used to walk in Edinburgh. Like, I knew the paths like the back of my hand, and I went up Arthur's Seat. Of course, it was drizzling, and I was just elated because I finally had this closure, because that chapter of my life didn't really close. I finished the program and got my degree, but there was never graduation. We all just dispersed and went back home amidst a global pandemic. So it was very healing to do that. And Arthur's Seat is just a really special place, and every time they mentioned it, I was emotional. Okay. So Dexter says, when I was younger, everything seemed possible. Now nothing does. Emma, for whom the opposite was now true, simply said, it's not as bad as all that. So I just think they never really lined up. Like, now he's at this stage in his life where he's been through this horrible divorce. His wife has had an affair. He has this kid that he loves but is terrified of being a father. And Emma is having so much success. She's like living in Paris for the summer, writing because she's gotten published, and she's doing a whole series. And now Dexter's falling apart. So I just don't know. I don't know with them. They never matched up. And I don't know what to think about that. Does she kind of lower herself to his level? Is it okay to do that when you deeply care about somebody, when they're your best friend? I don't know. There's so many complex issues here, and I'm not going to philosophize too much. I don't have the time. Okay, so she's thinking about getting together with him, even though she has this gorgeous French boyfriend. And now you've stopped having fun. You think, good old M, give her a go. So, yes, I said yes. Good for her for pointing that out. Like, that's exactly what he's saying. His life has been fun, and now it's not, and so now he comes crawling back to the one person who always supported him through his crap until he took it really too far and she had to drop him for a while. But he thinks, he can kind of get away with anything with her. Okay, So we only get them being together for like, what, 30 pages? Of course, classic, because when there's no giant conflict, stories aren't as interesting. For the first time in many years, he is more or less where he wants to be. He has a partner whom he loves and desires and who is also his best friend. He has a beautiful, intelligent daughter. He does all right. Everything will be fine just as long as nothing ever changes. The one certain thing about life is that it does change, so that just shows us how fragile happiness is. And I think about this a lot as somebody who has depression. My baseline is like down here, and distractions and like fun things can raise it, but or like can raise my mood, but the baseline, I'll always go back to that once those things are taken away. So Dexter kind of makes me think of that, like if everything isn't going exactly right, he spirals back into being out of control. And we know that he always took Emma's presence for granted, and we see that here in this very sad part. He squeezed past that bloody bike of hers, cluttering up his hallway and into the bedroom. Squeezed past the bike. He's so mad about the bike being there, and little does he know she is going to die that day on the bike. So, taking people for granted. Ugh, don't do it. And I think, people say, like, don't go to bed angry. I think never leave somebody mad. I hate people who, that's a strong word, but I really don't like people who avoid talking about difficult things in relationships. They just put up a wall, close off, go away, like literally leave, because they don't want to talk about anything, and then you wonder like why the relationship falls apart, because you have to communicate. So why did I say that? Oh yeah, because right here. Emma stood silent on the doorstep. The proper thing to do would be to tell him that she loved him too, but she still wanted to mope a little more. She resolved to sulk until lunchtime, then make it up to him tonight. We just can't do that. We can't trust that there is a tonight. We can't. And there's also the fact that if you are in a bad mood, you're more likely to get in some sort of accident. That's just a fact. Oh my god. Alright, we're doing this. I'm going to run out of space on my camera. Okay. To just look at someone, to just sit and look and talk and then realize that it's morning. Who had the time or inclination or energy these days to stay up talking all night? What would you talk about? Property prices? She used to long for those midnight phone calls. These days, if a phone rang late at night, it was because there had been an accident, and did they really need more photographs when they knew each other's faces so well? When they had shoeboxes full of that stuff, an archive of nearly 20 years? Who writes long letters in this day and age? And what is there to care so much about? Ugh, that makes me so sad. It takes time and patience to love somebody, to get to really know somebody. And it feels like in this fast-paced, crazy world, we just don't do that anymore. And that's why we're seeing this shift that everybody keeps talking about in dating culture. So here we get a look at Emma's faults. Maybe, but then the 22-year-old Emma Morley wasn't such a paragon either. Pretentious, petulant, lazy, speechifying, judgmental, self-pitying, self-righteous, self-important, all the selves except self-confident, the quality that she had always needed the most. And I think a lot of those other things we use to cover up the fact that we are not confident. So I think the difference is, like, Emma does have faults. She doesn't hurt other people as much with them like Dexter does. Does that make sense? There's this quote here at after her death in part 5 that they read it in the show, and oh my god, it's so haunting. Okay, it's from Tess of the D'Urbervilles. I don't know how to say that. She philosophically noted dates as they came past in the revolution of the year, her own birthday and every other day individualized by incidents in which she had taken some share. She suddenly thought one afternoon, when looking in the glass at her fairness, that there was yet another date, of greater importance to her than those, that of her own death, when all these charms would have disappeared, a day which lay sly and unseen among all the other days of the year, giving no sign or sound when she annually passed over it, but not the less surely there. When was it? Oh, I got goosebumps reading that. what a creepy thought. And I just, on the back where it says the true meaning of this one crucial day is revealed, I feel like if I were more, if I picked up on things better, I would, like, that would ruin it for me. But, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe it's not that obvious. Where the heck are we? Almost done. Oh, this is sad. So it's on their morning when they just spent the night together, their very first night ever. She smiled back and thought, nice guy, altering his plans just for me. Perhaps she had misjudged him. Yes, he is an idiot, but he needn't be. Not always. Why do we always stick around? Because we think that someone can get better. We have so much hope for them to be their best self. Most of the time, they're going to disappoint us. And in this case, he's literally lying to her. And she thinks he's doing something nice. Oh, this bit about grief is great. These days, grief seems like walking on a frozen river. Most of the time, he feels safe enough, but there is always that danger that he will plunge through. Now he hears the ice creak beneath him, and so intense and panicking is the sensation that he has to stand for a moment, press his hands to his face, and catch his breath. That's a really great description of it. You do feel like you are just walking around on ice, and everything is so fragile, and anything at any moment can just break the ice and make it all come flooding back, all the horrible feelings that come along with grief. Here's an example of why we should be honest and not cool. Where Emma, after they've spent that first night together, she says, I don't want to come with you, I don't want weekly postcards, I don't even want your phone number, I don't want to get married and have your babies either, or even have another fling. We had one really, really nice night together, that's all. I'll always remember it. And if we bump into each other sometime in the future at a party or something, then that's fine too. We'll just have a friendly chat. Ugh. Why? And I get it, we all do it. Why do we have to play it cool? Why can't we all just not be cool? Just tell your crush that you like them. Just tell somebody how you feel, and wouldn't it be great if they didn't get all scared and run away like a deer? Why can't we just face our feelings and the fact that we all have them? Hate playing it cool. Hate it. I'm not cool. Alright, and then I'm crying here at the end. Why? What do you want to do? She asked, though she knew the answer. He put one hand lightly on the back of her neck, and simultaneously she placed one hand lightly on his hip, and they kissed in the street as all around them people hurried home in the summer light, and it was the sweetest kiss that either of them would ever know. So what I get out of this book is everything ends. Everything. Good things, bad things, every little thing in this world ends either because of death or time, or, well, time just eats everything up. So take chances. Tell someone you love them. And I don't know, how do you guys feel about, do we give the same person a million chances over and over and over? Was it right for Dexter and Emma to have that rift where they had the fight after dinner and didn't speak for years? Should they have patched it up, or was that the right thing to do at the time? Do we have to do that sort of thing in order to, like, jumpstart somebody realizing their behavior is not acceptable and this relationship won't continue until it changes, and maybe us being together trying to work through it isn't ever going to work through it, and we just have to leave it up to time and the other person to work their stuff out? I don't know. There's so much to think about here. And I don't have all the answers. Like, I wish it was black and white and I could just be like, no, they shouldn't have been together, or yes, of course they should have been together. I think it's just an extremely realistic story that shows us just one relationship between two people, and all the crap that happens because we are human. So it's not some, grand romance, and I was really happy to see that. It is, it's not idealizing anything. It's really quite human and sad and real. 20 years, 2 people, 1 day. It makes it sound like an action film. Anyway, that's it. I will see you all next time. Until then, happy reading.